And at the end there, I was having some fun because the show was wrapping up. It was like the last hour. Some rooms were breaking down, but we still had people coming in the room. And I was playing DJ. I was just, hey guys, welcome back for another video. So I want to, first of all, thank the Indie Audio Labs crew. They are home of Aragon and Acoustics. Now, Acoustics is their home theater side of things. Think multi-channel Class D amps, things like that. And then they have Aragon, which are the higher end hi-fi monoblocks, Class AB, tube integration, that kind of thing. And they invited me up to help cover their showroom that they had in conjunction with MON Acoustics speakers, a relatively new South Korean company. And they were exhibiting at the New York Audio Show, even though it was in New Jersey. It was actually in a pretty nice hotel just over the river in New Jersey. And I flew in just about midnight, got into the hotel pretty tired, but it was a beautiful flight. I got to see all the fantastic lights coming into LaGuardia. That is like the perfect time to fly in there. So I wasn't there to cover the show proper or for my channel or anything, but I'm going to give you my thoughts because I did walk around. I've got some very cool stuff coming up. I'll tell you about that in a second. But first, let me tell you about the room we were in. It was in a business meeting room. Most of them, I think all but maybe 10 exhibitors were in the tiniest of hotel rooms. Now, I was staying in a room that was kind of like a suite. So I had the bed in a large section of the room, and then it had a living room with a couch and chairs and all that kind of good stuff. And it was a very big space, and it's what I was used to seeing exhibitors be in. However, wow, most of these rooms, you seriously could only set up for one seat and maybe have a couple people, off to the sides and the wings there, but barely have enough room to set up 2 speakers and a small stand, and that was it. They would literally take the bed out of the room, and the headboard would be stuck on the side of the wall, and they'd have to move the dresser, and that's about all the width of the room you had. The bed and a little bit of space to stand and where the dresser was, and that was it. And then you had the windows that they would cover up with something usually, and that's all the space there was. I mean, you couldn't even fit more than 10 people in a room at a time. So these guys, MON Acoustic and Aragon, I don't know if it was by design. I would imagine they paid a premium, but man, huge. They had about 15 chairs set up with tons of room to walk all around and in between, plus about 10 feet in front of the front row of chairs to the equipment and all that set up. And then they had tables all along the side with all their gear, plus they had 2 other speaker setups because they had these little tiny, they looked like little, like Logitech computer speakers. Think that size, but they were wood and they were high quality drivers. And I'm getting ahead of myself, but when they turned those on, it shocked everybody, especially the bass response out of them. I mean, they weren't competing with the main room speakers or anything, but nobody would have a clue that the sound volume and quality and range would come out of these little speakers. It was like one of those, switcheroo tests where, oh, just kidding, here's the real speaker that's playing. No, they were just legitimately insanely good for what you were expecting. So anyway, plenty of room in the room itself, and that just made all the difference in the world. And that kind of leads me into several people that came back in. And basically, I spent my time getting a lot of B-roll footage, which you're seeing here in this video, and just people watching. Not for fun, though, but for gauging interest and, just seeing what people are picking up on, because I'm very curious about the back end of setting up one of these shows. I've covered them here, well, not here, on my Guy Stuff channel over the years. And it's really interesting to see the different kinds of people that are coming into the shows. You can tell that some are there just for fun, some are there seriously, but are just starting out, and then some they're serious. They know exactly what they want. They know exactly what they're listening for. They're looking for things that they want to improve in their own system. So they're curious about, hey, how is this setup going to compare? And one very interesting and reoccurring comment was, Aragon, everybody that knew anything about them, they instantly recognized them from the unique shape of their case and their V cutout for the heat sinks and all that kind of good stuff. And time after time after time, people come in. Aragon? They're back? They thought they were gone. You know, there was a time in space there where the company was on hiatus, but they never went out of business, but they just weren't in the limelight. And it was so nice to see people just overjoyed by seeing them back, and their eyes lit up, and they went up and they looked at the stuff, and they were interested in, you know, are you guys selling it? Are you back in business? Or are you, what are you doing? One of the employees that I spent a lot of time there with, we were keeping a tally, you know, like 8. Now I think I counted 13 at the end of just same comment. Oh, I didn't know you guys were still around. It was just constant. So that was kind of funny. But the MON Acoustics guys were very thankful, and a little more info about that coming, because I've got 2 more videos with both MON Acoustics and Titan, who is a brand new manufacturer of high-end turntables. And I've got the designers on camera where I sat down and shot a lot of great interview questions with them. So that's coming very shortly. I've got a lot of editing to do because it's in Korean. And I've got a lot of translation text and stuff to put in and all that kind of good stuff. But getting a little ahead of myself there. Where was I? Wow, I lost that train of thought. Oh, yeah. The MON Acoustics guys were very thankful to partner up with Aragon to power their speakers. And unfortunately, I wasn't there for the unboxing day. I flew in the night before show open, and all during that day, they were tweaking and setting up and swapping cables and finding the best combination of stuff to bring out the best of the speakers. And man, everyone was just super happy in the end with the results after everything was dialed in. The combination of the Aragon stuff with the MON Acoustics, in my opinion, and I think everyone in the room, just, they nailed it. So I'll go into more detail in the dedicated videos for MON Acoustics about their speakers and all that kind of good stuff. But in the end, in the room, you had one seat especially, just flawless soundstage, deep, wide, extremely detailed, but even multi-seat, just enveloping, clear, crystal clear sound wherever you were in the room. And at the end there, I was having some fun because the show was wrapping up. It was like the last hour. Some rooms were breaking down, but we still had people coming in the room. And I was playing DJ. You know, I was just, I get my test track playlist, and I've got, compared to what is typically heard at these shows, fun music. All right. I like test tracks that I actually listen to. I have playlists that I not only use for testing, but I listen to in the car, going down the road for fun. That's the kind of stuff I like. Very well recorded stuff that I like to sing along to. So I was just jamming out to that. And we were getting people coming in the room. They were sitting down and they were tapping their toes and they were having a good time, as opposed to nobody is playing this stuff at home for fun. You play it to maybe set up because you're listening for very specific things in certain tracks. I get that. I totally understand that. And that, yes, is obviously why people play them at shows. So you're hearing the same few songs over and over in all the rooms, and you can hear the differences. Okay, I get that. But you got to mix it up. You got to mix it up. You got to get people happy. Isn't that what it's about? Well, I don't know. I've never run a showroom, but all I can say is I think people are having a better time when you play more fun music. Just my opinion. Just my opinion. Anyway, circling back to my entire point, the room itself made such a big difference. Now, there was one drawback, but man, it was so minor. And the guys were kind of complaining about it, but they're new to shows, not the Aragon guys, the MON guys. The room itself was one huge, long rectangle, and it was divided in the middle. So even though our room was huge, it was probably about, 30 feet long by maybe 25 wide, but the real room was about 50 long by 20 feet wide. And then there was another setup on the other side of the partition in an equally sized space. And both rooms sounded great when you're in the rooms, but the very lowest octave of bass notes for each room was in the other room. So we were getting, the under 20 from their room, and they were getting the under 20 from our room. So, they had complaints a little bit here and there, because if people were listening to a very low detailed passage and all of a sudden next door they were playing the Ready One race scene, which happened, it kind of screwed things up, but so minor. That was it. I mean, other than that, the rooms were really nice. Oh, and the ceilings, extremely tall. And the Aragon guys were in there, and they were tweaking and moving and shifting just to get it so nice. Anyway, everybody did a really fantastic job, and everything melded together. I think it was, if not certainly one of the top 3 best sounding rooms at the show. So after this video, I've got 2 more coming up with the interviews, and then I've got a big live stream coming up. I'm really excited for this one. This is with Rick Henthorne, the director of sales for Aragon, and he also does a ton of work on the Acura side, of course. But we've got a ton of stuff to talk about. We're going to, of course, recap some of the stuff at the show, but I've got a bunch of technical stuff that I want to pick his brain about, because he has a ton. He's director of sales, but that is not his primary goal. Trust me. This guy has years of tech knowledge, of inside tech knowledge, as an independent engineer and designer. So very interesting guest that I know you guys are going to be very interested in. Come with your questions. Get as techie as you want, whether it's about your specific setups or things you can improve in your room, design, just anything you're curious about. This is going to be a hot show. That's it for this video. Stay tuned. Lots more stuff coming up. And as you can tell, I'm kind of tweaking a new little set here. So that's it. Stay tuned. More to come.